Hello and welcome back to the DayLuna Human Design Podcast with your host, Dana and Shayna. Today we wanted to talk about the love gates, which did you know that human design has its own love languages, I want to call it, except for they're the human design love gates. And this is something that we covered in our advanced mechanics of relationship and bonding, which is going to be an online course soon. And it's just so interesting for me being in my pregnancy journey, getting closer and closer to the baby being born. I feel like it just puts such a strong spotlight on like my relationship, and in times of stress as the world is changing, it always comes back to the energy in my home, like not just with myself as an individual, but with my partnership. You know, are we seeing eye to eye? Are we caring for one another? Or is one person misaligned or not getting the love that they need? And if that dynamic is off in my house, everything else feels like there's so much more tension. Like everything else seems harder. And it's just such a great reminder that when we don't have alignment in our partnership, in our home, if you live with a partner, then it really echoes out into every single aspect of your life. So we just wanted to come on and talk about our love gates and some of the lessons that we've learned, because Shane and I have the same ones, of course, which is so interesting. And then our partners have different ones, but I feel like the two guys have like some similarities in comparison to our love gates, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy to just see it through such an objective lens with human design. Like, it's not like, oh, I feel this way, or this is what I've noticed throughout my life. It's so objective with like, this is in your chart and this is your love languages, or these are your love languages. And it kind of is nice because it relieves that pressure of like trying to be something you're not, or feeling bad or guilty or judging your partner, and just truly like letting them lean into that without trying to control them. I think has been an ongoing lesson in everyone's life. Like, I think in general.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I feel like in general, like with your human design journey, obviously it starts with your individual journey, following your strategy and authority and making aligned decisions and showing up in alignment with your aura and your energy type. And as you go on that journey and you start to really come into personal alignment, you realize more and more that life is not about only being an individual. Like, we do not live in a bubble. So many of us have partnerships or peers that we work with in our business, collaborators. So many of us have children. And I just feel like the world has gone on this awakening journey. Like a lot of us that are here in this space and have been listening to this podcast for a year or 2 years or however long we've been on kind of like our spiritual journey, it starts to be more and more about how do I spread this and bring this into my relationships, because those relationships impact and affect me so much. And I feel like there's these huge collective themes in the love gates. Like, you know, everyone talks about the 5 love languages. And honestly, I'm here for the fact that regular muggle people know about the 5 love languages now. Like when you're in the dentist office, people are like, do you know your love language? And I'm obsessed that the world is getting to that point where we know ourselves in that way. But obviously the love languages are like self-assessment, like which one do you resonate with, or which one do you feel right now, which if you are not familiar with them, which I'm probably sure that you are, you know, that can be acts of service, it can be physical touch, it can be gifts, it can be words of affirmation, or it can be quality time. Those are like the 5 standard love languages. And then you can like self-assess which one you feel like you resonate with, but you might really like all of them, or in different eras of your life, you might like different ones. And what's different about the human design love languages, or the love gates, if you will, is like, these are way more karmic. They're way more like imprinted into you forever. And you are going to have intense karmic lessons over and over and over again around these specific human design love gate love languages. And I think that that's really interesting. It's not changing. It's not like, oh, I'm in this era, so I have this love gate that's more active than this other one. It's these are your love gates that are imprinted into you. And are you learning lessons around them in the highest expression or the lowest expression? So just to kind of get into it a little bit, there's 2 specific sections of love gates. One of them one of the sections is all about transcendent love. These are the gates that you can have, the love gates that you can have in your chart that tell you that you're here to experience this kind of impersonal, higher realm sort of love. And I don't have any of these in my chart, and neither does Shayna, but both of our partners do. And what's really interesting, if you have one of these love gates, is that you are this deeply loving person, but love for you is meant to be transcendent. It's not meant to happen on the human plane. So for both of us, we have partners that have this specific love language that they're looking for love and seeking to experience this type of love outside of our partnership. And if you have a partner who has these transcendent love gates or anti-mundane love gates, then this means that you have to allow them to experience and express love outside of your partnership, and you can't try to control that love or try to get it to be focused on yourself. And so you're always going to have a partner that you need to give a little bit of that freedom to, and you need to sit back and admire and watch their love out in the world, but not try to contain that energy for yourself. And so it's really interesting, like with Jared, for example, he has gate 15, which is one of these anti-mundane or like transcendent love gates. And gate 15 is all about obviously the love for humanity and having this really deep appreciation of the variety and diversity that's in our human world. And it's so true that I see him need to be out in the world experiencing different types of people and different social classes. And he is so excited to meet people who are really different from him and like maybe live in a very different environment, or, you know, go out and experience the way that they experience life. And maybe it's completely different than like our social group or our social setting. And it can sometimes feel like I want to reel him in and try to get his focus more singular in our relationship and focus his love on me. And that is always going to be something that feels really bad for him. And it kind of like contains this transcendent experience that he's meant to have in his life. And so it's really interesting. I don't have any of those gates, and learning how to kind of like love someone in a way where you set them free. And there's so many things about my partnership that are like that. You know, Jared also has this 3-line in his profile. And the meaning of that with sexuality is the fact that he needs to have the bond and break it and have this, you know, space away from me. And it's so fascinating to learn how to love someone in that way where you let them be free and you understand that's their love language. And the more that they get to experience that kind of transcendent love outside of our partnership, the more they're going to be aligned and happy and alive and fresh and vital and charged with love in our partnership. It just can't be contained or direct.
Yeah. And I think that that is so valuable to know, right? Without that information, there can be so much judgment and self-worth or self-criticism or insecurities around your relationship because it's so different than what we're really taught in the collective or in, you know, movies or in whatever the different conditioning forces are that teach us how we're meant to love and what love is meant to look like. And these more challenging aspects, challenging in that they're just they aren't necessarily understood on more of a conditioned plane. It's so beautiful once you really wrap your mind around it and start to lean into it, because it creates so much more love and depth and connection in your partnership, which is just so cool to get to witness. And yeah, I mean, all of the different love languages in human design, these different love gates, they have a high expression, they have a low expression. So it's fascinating to also look at and kind of check yourself on, oh, I've been expressing love in my lowest expression, or I've been expressing love in my highest expression in this relationship. And I do find a lot of love when I lean into these qualities. But I also can see where I can fall into the shadow of it and let it derail me and confuse that as love. But really, it's the lowest expression of how I express love.
Right.
And specifically for both of us having gate 58 as one of our love gates, this is this energy of wanting to tweak and make corrections and showing love through correcting and improving your relationship over time or improving your partnerships over time. And of course, the shadow of that is being really hard on your partner or feeling really dissatisfied in your partner personally. And finding these personal imperfections within either yourself as a partner or your partner. And the highest expression is like over time, like we're growing as a couple. We are making improvements. We are making these tweaks and these changes. And it feels like we're getting to evolve as within our love. And our love is getting deeper and more, uh, I want to say like,
Refined
refined. Yes, that's the exact word. And
over
that's
time.
a really fine line between refining something and like beating the shit out of it.
Especially if you're a projector, which is really
Yeah.
interesting. So Shane and I both have gate 58, this love gate, and so do both of our partners, which I think is really interesting. All of us have this gate 58. And I feel like for sure one of my like recipes to success, if you will, and having such a long-term relationship has been evolution. And without even knowing this information, I've known that we are a couple that both want to evolve. Like we want to learn how to become better and to refine ourselves over time to become more of who we are and show up that way in relationship, like continue to try and to put in the effort and to see who each other are as we evolve and grow. And that evolution piece I really feel comes from this gate 58, like wanting to perfect it over time. And that is the highest expression, is that you can create this long-term relationship that it's like something that you're tending to and that you're constantly, you have this excitement, this enthusiasm that you bring to it, right? Because gate 58 comes from the root center. It's literally like this energy to put into your relationship, this continuous drive, if you will, to make it better and to not just walk away from it, if you will. But in the lowest expression, oh my gosh, gate 58 really sneaks up on me. And honestly, I feel like Jared doesn't correct me as much as I correct him. I think that's just a projector thing, the fact I'm a projector and he's a man gen. But I can definitely find myself just perfecting every little tiny nitpicky thing. And I watched my mom and my stepdad, who also both have gate 58 and who are both projectors. And sometimes I would see them like be so harsh on each other about the dumbest little things. Like my mom would be like, oh, your collar on your shirt is not tucked in right. Like you look like a slob and we're walking into this party. And I remember thinking in my head, seeing that and being like, gosh, mom, you would never speak to anyone else in that like rude, criticizing, like because your shirt was askew, like you look like a slob and everyone's going to
But
judge
she's
us.
showing
Kind of.
love.
Well,
like,
in the lowest,
she shows love to her partner in the lowest
but
expression.
in the
But
lowest expression,
it
in the
is
lowest
like coming
expression.
from this deeper place of like, or unconscious place, I want to say, of like what's behind it is like wanting to show love, but it is coming out through that lower expression. It's like
Yeah.
that the thing that's driving it is like, this is my love language, but am I doing it in a way that's like improving our relationship and is uplifting and setting free and feeling good? Or is it in a way that's actually like
just tearing my partner down or nitpicking them in a thing that doesn't matter? Like one of the lowest expressions of gate 58 is feeling like if your relationship doesn't look perfect to other people, that it's like a reflection on your value as an individual. So you feel like if my partner shows up as a mess or they don't say the perfect thing or whatever it is, then people are going to think that I'm not good enough or that I have a lower value, because gate 58 is one of the gates that's like perfectionism tendency. And so you can put that on your relationship and then identify your own value based on whether your relationship has perfection or not, all in the lowest expression. And instead, it's about being like, we don't need to be perfect. The goal is not perfection. The goal is putting my enthusiasm into my relationship to refine it and evolve it over time in a way that's productive. And it's such a slippery slope. Like I think one of the big things is really like taking a step back and asking yourself, does this really matter, you know, in our relationship and over time? Or is this a small thing where I'm just being a perfectionist because I'm afraid that I don't have enough value as an individual if I show up looking anything less than perfect? Which perfect, I mean, having gate 58 just in our charts in general, like not even thinking about it as a love gate, I definitely know when I'm struggling with perfectionism, it's so wrapped up in my own value and in my own worth. And it's like the opposite feeling of love. Whereas gate 58 is a love gate. This is how you experience love for other people in the highest expression. And so if you feel like you're perfecting your relationship out of self doubt or insecurity, you automatically know you're using this energy incorrectly. But if you feel like you're perfecting your relationship out of love, out of excitement, out of joy, out of enthusiasm, that's when you know you're in the highest expression, if this is one of your love gates.
Yeah, I love these love gates. I love here like, getting these points of reflection to kind of like, oh, okay, pull your head out of the stories that maybe you have, because every
Yeah.
relationship has so many stories, right? They're so complex. But this kind of pulls you out of it to be more accountable for what you can do within your relationships. And I think that enthusiasm piece with gate 58 is important, because when we're looking at gate
Yes.
58 outside of just being a love gate, it's like this enthusiasm to make life better, this zest for life of like, I'm doing this because I love life. And we talk about this in one of our other podcast episodes of like either loving life or like hating life with this energy.
Yeah. You're
And
correcting it because you love it, or you're correcting it because you hate it. And that
yeah,
being the differentiating point.
and this despair that can happen when you're in that like hating it side, I think that
Yeah.
definitely can come into relationships of like, okay, this is not perfect, or it's not going to make the changes that it needs to, or we're not evolving, we're not growing, right? Those are important things to you when you have gate 58, that you feel like you're able to evolve and grow. And
And you
so,
feel like your partner's enthusiastic about
yes.
life and making life better. Like if you have gate 58 in your chart and your partner doesn't have gate 58, let's say, for example, and you feel like they are not enthusiastic about showing up, they're not enthusiastic about life in general, they're not enthusiastic about your relationship, that lack of enthusiasm is going to feel to you like a lack of love.
Yes, exactly. And it's like using your strategy and authority, of course, to decide like what is a deal breaker for you or not, what is right for you or
Right.
not. But
Or to
also,
communicate things.
and also, though, knowing for yourself and being honest with yourself, like, have I been operating out of the lowest expression and like beating this thing up or beating this person up with trying to
Right.
tweak and correct them or our relationship up? Or am I doing it from a place of like, let's evolve, let's grow, let's have our relationship not look the same that it did 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Like,
Yeah.
let's really like be constantly growing together. And if that enthusiasm's there, but then there's other things that your partner's just not willing to meet you there with that enthusiasm, then it's like, okay, use your strategy and authority. But
Yeah.
I just think that that's helpful to know that this is important to you. If you have gate 58 and all of the different love gates, it's going to tell you what is important to you and the freedom that you need or where you need to be supported or nurtured or loved within these energies. So then the other one, oh, did you want to add
That
to
we
that?
both have. Oh, I was just going to say that, like, yeah, it's important to, I feel like, always start with yourself. Like, know your love gates first, know your love languages first, because
Yes.
there's going to be a lot of things that you can take action on. Like, we're talking about with Shane and I having gate 58. We've talked about all of these ways where we can check ourselves and hold accountability and be like, am I in the highest expression or not? And without knowing our partner's love gates or even having a conversation with them about it, there's a lot that we can do to make sure that we're in the highest expression so that we're experiencing the most love instead of challenge in our relationships. But then secondarily, it would be knowing your partner's love gates and knowing, okay, these are all the ways that they experience love. How are we the same? How are we different? How can I show up in service to their love gates that I don't have? And I will feel like it's not something that necessarily is like feeding me, but it's more giving to them. Like just the same with the regular love languages. Like if your partner had physical touch and you don't, and you knowing that is like, okay, we have this difference here. How can I nurture that in a way that is authentic for me? And I'm not over giving, but I'm also aware of how I can support them in a way that doesn't necessarily isn't symbiotic. It's more of like an act of service to them. But
Yeah.
yeah, okay, let's get into our other love gate, the other one that Shayna and I have, the only other one, which is gate 41. And I was so excited to come talk about this gate, Love Gate 41, in this call today because I just watched the Netflix show. It's called Vladimir. Have you seen it on there? It's
No.
like in the top like 5. And I think
Yeah.
it comes from a book. So it's like a limited series where it's only like 6
Oh,
episodes.
I'll add it to my list.
But it's the girl from The Mummy, the British girl from The Mummy. She's like the
Okay.
main. Okay, so she's a professor, and I won't give the show away, but the whole thing is that she has this like insane obsession fantasy with her younger colleague. And like every time she's with him in the room, she like goes into this like fantasy world where she's like envisioning them having an affair. And then when they finally like get to the point where they actually could potentially have an affair, it's like, will it live up to her obsession fantasy in her world or will it not? And it just literally derails her whole fucking life to be so obsessed with this fantasy. And like, will it happen or won't it happen? And then when it happens, will it live up to what she had in her mind? And as I was watching it, I was like, this is humanity's love gate shadow around gate 41.
Absolutely. Oh my
Like, and
God.
there's so many stories in our movies that we watch, in our stories that we read. Like, I feel like gate 41 is such a crucial theme. And if you have, know a fair bit about human design, you'll know that gate 41 is a really important gate
Yeah.
because it's the only initiating codon. So when we talk about the human design new year, it's when the sun moves into gate 41. And it's this gate of the dreamer. It's this dreamer fantasy energy. And, just on a more biological level, biomechanical level, it has this initiating amino acid that allows humans to have a mutation, and that it causes us to then have a new human experiential cycle. But in a more personal way, like when we're not talking about the biomechanics of this gate, but we're really just talking about the energy in our life, there is a deeply spiritual in the highest expression and romanticized energy in the highest expression. But in the lowest expression, if you have gate 41, you can be obsessed with these fantasies and really get attached to them, and this desire gets kind of contorted and twisted. And in the lowest expression, these fantasies can literally derail you from experiencing any type of happiness, love, support, or acceptance of what is in your life. Like, you can have this larger than life expectation that when it isn't met, it can really derail things for you. So I think that this is so interesting because you can see it in so many stories. And, I feel like it really is something that Gate 41 is such an important theme in humanity that whether you have Gate 41 or not, people can kind of attach onto this idea of like the grass is greener, specifically in their relationships. And it's not realistic. If they did have this fantasy thing, it wouldn't actually live up in real life experiences to what their fantasy version of it was.
Yeah. And of course, that depends, especially if they're not using their strategy and authority to like actualize that fantasy. But that's where this is a little confusing because one of your love languages is dreaming up your life together and dreaming up love, fantasizing about your life together and getting to do that with a partner, getting to do that even just expressing those dreams and fantasies with one another. That's a way that you show love. Like, I can see you doing this. I can see us doing that. I can see us, going on this path or experiencing this thing. And that's one of the ways that you show love is by seeing and dreaming and giving that energy towards that, right? It's coming from the root once again. And this quality of then easily slipping into like, wait, this fantasy hasn't happened. Like, what's wrong with us? What's wrong with you? Like, this isn't perfect, or this didn't, this is an unmet fantasy. So now I hate us, or I hate you, or I hate this thing, right? Can slip into that other
Yeah,
side. That is that lower expression of like, or even this desperation to have to make it happen.
right.
And that's confusing because while our dreams are here to lead us and initiate us, we're also meant to be open to what's here now and using our bodies to be this compass that's guiding our direction, not our minds dream or fantasy or vision that we've talked out with our partner. It really is meant to be led by your strategy and authority. So it's like letting it be the sweet nectar or like the poison apple in your relationship.
Ooh,
And
poison apple.
yeah, and like part of my fantasy side is like, oh, I want that poison apple, and then like have someone swoop in and save me. Um, but and it's so funny that part of this, like this fantasy side, I really see this. Like I love getting caught up in other worlds or fantasies. Like I
Yeah,
love reading a fantasy book. I love, getting
same.
lost in a show or a movie or Avatar or
And
like,
if there's an action movie and there's no romantic plot in it, I'm like, I'm out.
oh,
I am
see,
100% out.
I'm
But
not.
if there's a juicy, like sexy romantic plot that is like some fantasy, like wild, high stakes thing, then I'm like, I'm in no matter what the movie. And I'm not a sci-fi person and I'm not an action person. And I know Shayna, you are kind of both. But
Yes.
for me, my Gate 41 comes in strong here. And I'm like, if there's not a
I think
fantasy, romantic, spiritual, like transcendent thing in it, then I'm out.
I think that's because you have the full channel
Yeah.
and that connects that desire and that
And
emotional
it's
center
literally,
to it.
that's the channel that makes my authority. It's
Yeah.
like one of the most important channels in my entire body
Yeah.
graph.
Whereas sometimes in my book, like I literally skip over the sex scenes because I'm like, I need to get back to the plot. Like,
Shut
I do
up.
not. I literally like skipped over a sex scene last night because I was like, gosh, just stop distracting me.
You're like, I don't have time for this. That's your Hades godhead, though.
And that's so true.
Well, I was going to say, so with Gate 41, like this is where in humanity in general, this is where our fantasy porn, like romanticized books, like this is where this concept comes from. This is why it's a part of the human experience. It comes from Gate 41. And of course, in the highest expression, this ability to romanticize and dream, it creates this experience of love and passion that is beyond survival mode, beyond our biology and the animal plane. It truly is something that is this like creative, juicy, mutative force in society. It drives us forward to create art, to create experiences that make your heart expand, stories that make your heart expand and make you feel alive. So Gate 41 is a very special and powerful energy, like not just in a physical way, but also within humanity, but in the lowest expression, right? Think about how many people become completely disconnected from their partner in real life and are addicted to pornography. Or think about how many people are completely obsessed with, some fantasy thing and they end up like leaving their partner or like going into their not self because of it. So it's just a really important energy in general to be super honest about. Like, even if you don't have Gate 41, I just feel like there's so much conditioning around
Totally.
it. But definitely if it's one of your love gates, being really aware. And I always like to say, for me, like in my own experience, I obviously resonate deeply, deeply, deeply with this energy, with having Gate 41. And I feel like mostly I've been in the highest expression, especially since I've been following my strategy and authority. It's been pretty easy for me to stay in the highest expression. But when I was younger, I could definitely see that I would have, and I do have the full channel, which runs on expectations. But even just if you just have the Love Gate 41, there can be this feeling of like, I have this fantasy or this thing that I've been playing out in my relationship. And then when it doesn't happen, it just feels so deeply disappointing because I got attached to the desire. And so it reminds me of the phrase, like, it's not about the journey, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
That's how it's not about the fantasy becoming reality. It's about enjoying the creative, juicy story of the fantasy. Like enjoying the journey of it and not putting expectations on your partner to fulfill that. Now, that doesn't mean that your partner won't take you on this romantic date and have this romantic experience, and that you can't be the person who dreams that up and communicates it and initiates it. You totally can. It's just, if there's this pressure and this expectation, it is always going to lead to sort of the same thing as Gate 58, like the perfectionism, like it's never good enough. And I can't accept this because there's some higher version of what I'm wanting. And I feel like I see this a lot in like when I'm watching reality TV shows, and like specifically Love is Blind, which I am over that show. I used to be into it because I used to feel like it used to be so genuine. And then now it's just getting,
Who
I
knows
feel
if it
like,
was.
played out. But I feel like people come in with this like dream about finding their partner and getting married, which is such a huge, like,
Yeah.
why do they have to get married? I heard someone say at the end of the pod that like they should just meet a therapist. And it's like, great, now we're going to unpack everything that was revealed in the pod. And like, that's the point of the show, instead of needing to get married to someone, like pressure to get married to someone after knowing them for 2 weeks or like not even knowing them. But I feel like
That
Gate
is the
41,
epitome of, yeah,
it's
Gate
all over
41.
that. Exactly.
100%. And I think that if you can just, like, if you have Gate 41 and you're listening, like, just enjoy the dream. Just enjoy fantasizing with your partner and dreaming up your next chapter or your next date or whatever that is. And sometimes you're going to make them happen, sometimes you're not, but enjoying the energy that is there through getting to dream about it and feeling the closeness that that brings you both and the intimacy that that brings you both, and just that part alone, I think is the highest expression of this energy. And I definitely, like, a good example is like when I conceived Isla, like with my partner, with Brian, like we did a whole ceremony, and that was a big part of how I was showing love to him, but also to Isla, and like doing the ceremony, talking about our fears of the future with being a parent, but also our things that we're excited about and what we're dreaming for her life and what we love. And, that fantasizing, dreaming up quality, and even like envisioning her and envisioning her soul and her path, like, I don't care if she becomes any of those things or does any of those things or makes that happen. It's just that love that was poured into that moment of getting to really be in that fantasy and that dream. That was a way of me expressing love, right? And I'm not saying that everyone needs to do that, but it is knowing like, oh, that's because that's one of my love languages. And my husband was able to meet me there and have fun with that and explore that. And that was really beautiful. So it's not wanting everyone to have your same love language, like Dana said. It's knowing how to nurture the different love languages within each other and holding that space for one another, and knowing when you're in the lowest expression so that we can come back into the highest expression just with
And
awareness alone.
And just to give everyone listening some contrast to the different love gates, like Shane and I really dove into the two that we have both in our charts, 58 and 41. But just to give you some contrast, like you could have gate 40 and gate 44 as your two love gates, and love for you would be all about the material plane. It would be about, are my partner and I successful together out in the world? Are we able to make money together? We're a good team, like a business team. And that would be coming from gate 44. That would be your love language. And if that material aspect is not there, you would feel like then we're not really in love. And this is not really bringing love into my life. And with gate 40, you really want to provide for your partner. And of course, there's a highest expression and a lowest expression of both of these qualities too. But let's say that you were talking to someone who just had gate 44 and gate 40. It was like, love for them really is sort of more on the material plane and about like the business realm, and it's about success, it's about stability, it's about being of service to one another, and that act of service to their partner would be so important for them. And then if that person was talking to me and Shayna with our gate 41, they would be like, you guys are crazy, like your experience of love is so different than mine. And so that's where the contrast really starts to come in. It starts to show you why every relationship is so different, and why, maybe you have the same love gates as your partner. And I think that's really beautiful when you share them, but it's not necessarily like a compatibility thing. It's just more understanding how you're different. But we do get into, like, in our new advanced human design reader training, where we get into the mechanics of relationships, we talk about the different parts of your chart that would show you where you have natural compatibility or where you have a major difference that you'd have to navigate around. And I feel like the goal is not really to have like only the same things, because that wouldn't allow another person to be your sacred mirror and help you grow. But definitely, if you don't know these places where you're different, you can create so much drama in your relationship that is completely unnecessary. And I just see that all the time. I see people in my life that their relationships have so much friction and so much tension that they end up, both of the individuals in the relationship end up feeling like that takes all of their energy. And then their dreams go on the back burner, their passions go on the back burner, because they're sort of like, instead of following their purpose, they're eating the low-hanging fruit, which is like the drama that can happen in a relationship when you don't have a certain level of awareness of each other. So I feel like this is one of the reasons why learning about relationships can be so empowering for people, because it can transform, it can free up space in your life for you to be someone who can contribute more to the world around you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm excited for everyone to learn more about that. If you're interested in this, if you're a human design reader, if you work with couples, if you work with clients in coaching in some way, and you want to be able to understand this about your chart, but also about your client's chart, check out our new course. It's going to be available at some point this spring. We're really excited to share it with you. And we'd love to hear if you know the love gates, which love gates you have. And if you, specifically you have the same ones as Shane and I, 58 and 41, we'd love to hear if this resonates with you, if you felt yourself in the lowest expression or the highest expression.
I know. I was going to say, I know that this was more advanced information, which you have been telling us that you want more advanced info. So it is like, there's so much more, right? There's many more love gates that we break down in our course, but it's so fascinating. And that's what's so amazing about human design, is that it's not only fascinating, it's liberating, and it liberates you in your relationships, but also within your own internal world. And it releases the turmoil and the judgment and everything in between. So if this has been sparking that interest, check it out. And if this has been a little over your head because it's a little advanced, like, welcome and good job. And I'm like, welcome to the rabbit hole. It's so fun to be in here. And
it's great. The water's warm.
The water's warm. Jump in. So yeah, we love you. We hope that you have an amazing rest of your day. And hopefully this sparked some like, ooh, am I showing up in my highest or lowest expression with how I show love? Because that self-accountability to me feels so empowering. And so hopefully you feel empowered a bit more after this conversation. So sending you so much love. You can check everything out on daylunalife.com or Instagram at dayluna. And if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, that's where we announce everything about our launches and courses and offerings. So make sure that you're subscribed to hear when this becomes available. And yeah, we'll talk soon. Thank you for tuning in with us today. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to follow along and learn more about human design.